Hello, everyone. Whew. Welcome to Fantastic Fringies. I am where to find them. My name is Master Lash. I have been in the SCA for over 3 decades as a fringy and a mercenary, and I just happen to be a member of the chivalry now. And as you can tell, I'm extremely excited to do this, to have this opportunity to showcase the people that operate behind the scenes, those people that are not seen very often or are known, those that make it possible for us to do the things that we love to do, but remain invisible, but not for long. I feel it's time for these people to be seen. And like my current guest, Caspian Lash of Blackrune, a most fine and admirable hobbit, and really good friend of mine. So what's happening, brother?
Good to see you, my friend.
I'm
still all choked up from that lovely slideshow intro.
I kind of sprung that on you. Yeah, that's the first one I've ever done. So I've never done one of those before. I want a lot of people to know that the reason I asked Caspian Lash is because me and him are co-conspirators in helping people, especially people who are kind of outside the mainstream, to have fun in our game and have a place where they can go. And when I thought about doing this show about these people, he was the first person that came to my mind, because I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, and he's a great brother. And I could keep going on, but so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and so people can get to know you.
Hey, I'm Caspian. I started in the SCA. My first war was February of 1984. Mundanely, I've been married to a wonderful lady for 25 years next month. I have an amazing son on the autism spectrum. Let's see, back to SCA, Order of the Crescent Sword, Order of the Crescent, Corps de Guerre, World Recognition of Excellence, Squire number 76 to Kir Yaroslav the Persistent, and protege to Master Blackrune, and Baronial Marshal of Angels.
Oh, that's all?
The Quartermaster of the Indigo Rose. And
there's some more in there. But what I kind of do is I have preloaded questions for my guests to make it easier, and also that to test this out to see if people want us to keep doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and just fire them off, and you just do the best you can. So how did you get started?
Like a lot of people, I was a D&D and fantasy geek, and went to gaming conventions and science fiction conventions. And back then, that was one of the ways you could actually find the SCA, because this was before the internet. So either you ran into someone in the military who was in the SCA, or you saw a thing up at your library or in your gaming store. And we saw an article that there was going to be an Angels Anniversary tournament in September in Arcadia Park, and that was local to us. So me and my friend Tom went, and he didn't stick around, but 30 plus-ish years later, I'm still here. So that was basically how I found it and got started. About a month in, I was lucky enough to meet the person who's now my pelican and has been my sword brother for many, many years, Master Blackrune. And he'd been in about 3 years, so he was an old timer compared to me. And he sort of took me under his wing, and I ended up with this awesome family and this awesome life. So,
well, so what were some of the challenges you faced?
Well, besides the whole, awkward at speaking in public part, the Blackrune is a mercenary unit, and early on, that was just kind of how it fell out. And Caid doesn't always really like mercenaries. We may be part of the reason for that. At one war very early on, Caid was going to outnumber the West, and it was the first time, it was significant. And our king had given us permission to go fight for the other side. I think pretty much just thinking we were, a bunch of kids, and, what the hell were we going to do? So Baron Ockmere of Tarnmist hired us, and we drank at his place all weekend. And we actually kicked some ass and kind of were a fair part of helping win the war against Caid that Caid had really expected to win, I think. So, that kind of made things awkward for the next 20 years.
Yeah, it looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties with your connection. Your feed flows. Well, we were talking this whole half an hour and we had no problems, huh? So we got about as far as Caid, and
okay. Yeah, really, that was kind of a challenge, and we're to blame for a lot of that because at a certain point, you hell with it, and you decide to be obnoxious in your own way, and it is what it is, So luckily, things have changed a lot. And, we're on much better terms with the kingdom, and Blackrune kind of reinvented itself a little bit, and it's a good time now. So those were kind of major challenges. We're just kind of being on the outside of that, but I think we were also to blame for a lot of that. We chose to be, and after a certain point, embraced it.
Okay, so your feed is a little bit broken up. Looks like there's some bandwidth issues on your side, but we'll see if we can. Maybe somebody's playing Call of Duty or something.
So somebody streaming video, you can go ask them to get off.
So along with those challenges, those things that you were talking about, is it that way now?
No, actually, things are a lot better. Last time we fought for the last time we fought for the West, I think 3 years ago. We had no problem with it. Everything was cool about it, and I think people have kind of starting to realize that mercenary is just a group persona in the same way that Viking is or Roman is. It's just kind of how different groups choose to play. And it's not like we're going to retire on this or anything. It's usually someone donating a few bottles of booze to our bar, or having us over for lunch or something like that. But it's the idea of it. But yeah, no, things have gotten a lot better for it. We always have people looking to hire us in Caid, which is nice. I will fight with you again one of these days, my brother, I promise. So things are a lot better on that front, but I think we also are soft playing our aspect of it a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's one thing I was going to ask you, because you are a mercenary, but you are also kingdom loyal to Caid. So I know you merc out to like baronies in Caid and for different things, and then but if it comes to fighting against Caid, then you're standing with Caid, correct?
It depends. I mean, really, it's not like we haven't done it before. We've fought for Adenfeld, we've fought for the West, and we've fought for Outlands and stuff at various times. It's really kind of one of those things of, is the game worth the candle? Is it worth the amount of crap I worry about my warband getting if, we choose to do that again? And that's part of why I always tried to give Caid first crack, first right of refusal. And, there may well come a time when it's like, no, I'm not going to fight for a 12-pack of Meisterbrow. I'm sorry. And, and then, we'll go somewhere else. But,
well, I will always get you a case of whatever you want.
I appreciate that, brother. I know that's just it.
So along those same lines, because you were talking about your history and the stuff that you guys have done, what are your accomplishments? What are some of the things that happened because of your success as a household?
Well, I think one of our big accomplishments, and this was Indigo. Blackrune is a warband. It's sometimes a camp. It's not always a camp, but it's a warband made up of people from different camps. and we practice together and train together, and fight in the structure. I'm the fifth captain, and if I refer to it as mine, it's not meant that way as an ego thing. It's just mine in the sense like it's my family. I belong to it. So I'm sorry. The question was what again?
What are your accomplishments?
Oh, right. It's right there down from me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
One thing that was very cool is our camp did trash for 4 years for Great Western in the entirety of it. And we were sort of the first trash crew to start doing the whole thing with making theater out of it. We had big banners on the side of the trash trailer. We had Mardi Gras beads we threw out to people who actually brought us their trash as opposed to us picking it up. We had, trash specific songs we sang. So, that was pretty cool. As far as my personal greatest accomplishment, getting my special needs son to Eagle Scout. I'm pretty proud of that. And, thank you, brother. And B, when we took 8-9 years off to kind of figure out how to be autism parents. When we came back to the SAA, my warband had kind of faded way down to just like 1 or 2 people. And right around that time, a second generation member, son of one of someone from my time, was looking to fight. So he called me up looking for help with getting armor. So I said, hell yeah, let's get the band back together. And, pulled out the dusty old phone list, for those of you who remember what a phone list is, and started making calls. And while I only got, 1 or 2 people who were like, oh yeah, sure, I'll come out, Cass, I also got 2 or 3 people who said, if you quit calling me and asking me to fight, I will give you my armor to put someone in. And if you have 2 or 3 suits of loan armor, you suddenly have a warband again.
Yeah.
So nowadays, we're filling a dozen fairly consistently, which is real nice again. And we're adding new people. People are moving away or getting transferred. That kind of stuff always happens. But the other thing that was really good about it is getting to see what the young people wanted to make. It was like our camp has a freaking hookah lounge now. I would have never imagined having a hookah lounge. I mean, we were ambitious to have a bar. Just things like that, and watching this, the sense of family, that they pulled together out of it, and the fact that they look up to me and my wife Sonia as, I guess, parental figures, for lack of a better word, which occasionally makes me ask just how messed up were your parents, and then I'm immediately sorry I asked. So we just kind of accept it. And it comes with being the old person, I guess. Because I'm the only one of my original 7 brothers from the warband still fighting actively these days. So,
and then now you've also had some of your people, the older Blackrune people, had actually moved up into chivalry, moved up into peers.
Oh, good lord, yeah. Hell, just out of Indigo Rose Camp that I was talking about, there's been 3 landed barons, a knight, 2 pelicans, a couple kingdom officers, me.
So do you think those people would have done that if they hadn't had a home in Blackrune?
I think some of them would. I think if you're either the type of person who's going to become a pelican or you're not, that's not really something that someone can stand over you with a lash and teach. You either love volunteering and doing shit or you don't.
Yeah.
And as far as the night, that's all on them and their personal prowess and their effort they put into it. Maybe I like to think that the dozens of people we had doing trash for a week plus for those years helped get a couple of the pelicans over the hump for it. So in that sense, maybe that they might not have done it without it, but
and I'll tell you right now, your peers are fiercely loyal. Through some of the comments and stuff we've had on Facebook, they are fiercely loyal to you, which is fantastic.
You get back what you put out. So
yeah. So in that same line, how are you successful in what you do, and why do you do it?
I do it because fighting alone and singing alone sucks. And I'd much rather be out there with someone watching my back while I have my spear than be doing it myself. And hell, I had 30-year, 25 years of life invested in this. I had friends, brothers who I loved to death who, we had more time than that invested in it. I wasn't willing to let it fade away. And I got very lucky in that I ran into some people who understood what I was trying to put out there, trying to say, this, my warbands had issues in the past, but, this is what we're about. This is about the brotherhood. This is about the supporting the dream. This is about the getting your ass beat on the field together and then singing around the campfire at night. Part of why I'm successful at it is I know when to get the hell out of the way and let them do what they want to do. There's a story I occasionally tell from early on when our camp, the Boys of Blackrune, which is now rebranding as Inn of the Wayward Mercenaries, because who wants to be called Boy in your 30s? They, were thinking, want to be a Varangian, we should build these big ass round shields for the shield wall. I'm sitting going, those are really, really hard to fight with. Well, and they're all, yeah, but Droffin does that. Well, yeah, Droffins practice it together for a really long time. You should do Scoutums. And they're all, no, I'm all, yeah, cool, man. Here, I'll help you make them. And they were huge and awkward, and one war later they were cut into Scoutums. But I think that kind of showed them that I wasn't going to be the old guy saying how it's supposed to be done, if that makes sense.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it's which is that goes a long ways with a lot of stuff that we see going on nowadays. There are a lot of people that are saying, it's my way or the highway, or no, that won't work immediately, instead of letting some people try it. And
I may have laughed a little bit.
They're better at you. They're better than you at what they're trying to do, and they end up being successful.
And it kind of goes back to earlier I was saying about how I kind of gave them a framework and a history, and they built a family. And this is another story. One of our fighters, dance major in college, amazing dancer. All the dancers loved hanging out with him and stuff. And at a war, he had gotten kicked out of a camp's party because they did not allow male dancers. And it's like, really? But so my guys on their own had this idea and came to me and said, hey, Captain, we're doing this. I'm all, you mean we're doing this? And we all got in belly dancing garb and beads and scarves and gave all the ladies drums. And we went down and we crashed their party and danced at them until we got kicked out in solidarity. So knowing when to go, yeah, hell yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that is, I think also part of why I'm successful at what I do. The other big reason is I am known for taking donations of hand-me-down armor and garb and equipment from people who are retiring out of the SCA, rehabbing it in the garage, and throwing new fighters in it. So, that also helps, keep your numbers up. I've certainly armored up people who didn't end up with us, but, that's a big part of it too, is that other people have bought into what I'm doing. Like the people initially gave me their old armor to turn to loaner armor. I've seen at least 4 people cycle through that armor who now have their own rig and, are members.
Right. That's a sort of same thing that we do in Black Company is we'll have people come in and they'll hang out with us and with no strings attached. They can hang out with us, have fun. We'll armor them up. They can fight, and we'll introduce them to, if they want to go the knightly path, we'll find a knight for them. We'll find somebody for them. Or we'll point them in the direction of the places that they want to go, and just tell them, you always have this camp right here you can come to until you find it. And I think that's a huge thing of finding out where people want to go, what path they want to do, and communicating with them, especially when they're new. It's just listening.
Old people and old war dogs like you and I were like Tyrion Lannister. We drink and we know people.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. And along that same lines, we know how to do what we do because we love the game. We love what we do. We love the SCA. We love the people. And what should we do to make things better? I mean, I know we're in the middle of a pandemic. I know we're coming out of a pandemic. But before that, if there had been no pandemic before all that happened, What should we do to make things better?
I think one of the best things we can do is try to make things more accessible and accepting, which we seem to be really efforting on, and make things cheaper. We have a lot of competition these days. There's Wasteland Weekend, there's Dagahir, Belagarth, the other LARP groups. My wife's company, or my wife's best friend's company, Garb the World, goes and merchants at Battle for the Ring every year, which is the biggest LARP event on the West Coast. And the general impression of the SCA tends to be that everyone's stuck up and it costs $1,000 to play. And it's like, sure it can, but you can also do it for like, $50 and just jab some people and get some loaner armor. And that's just like, for buying your cup and your pads and stuff. The stuff you don't want to pass around. So making it as accessible as we can, having loaner armor available for people.
What about the non-fighters?
All right, for the non-fighters, make it appealing, make it safe. One example I've used actually with some peers here in Caid who I've had this discussion with, who are trying to say, how is it that you recruit young people and other groups don't always so much recruit young people? And it's like, you're going to get people who are going to be showing up with tails and ears for the first 2 or 3 wars. You're going to get people who paint their face like a mermaid and hang out for their first few wars. But if they end up sticking around, they're going to do that less and less. And I think, don't harass people for bringing their fantasy element into it. Says the guy named Caspian. So, I really think that's one of the best things we can do is just be a little less uptight. And, I think it's awesome that, the SAA has standards and, I think it's obviously required for safety and stuff, but just really being as accommodating as we can, making it affordable. We don't call it the non-member surcharge anymore. I forget what the hell we call it. We call the other part the member discount, but I hate that so much.
Right.
Those are really the biggies. Be as accepting as we can, make it a safe space, police our own shit, and cut people slack. Choose to engage them about something else. Instead of saying cat's ears, say, I love your necklace, or something like that. And and Caid really has gotten a lot better about this in the last few years. I mean, I had a group of my people running around as witches one war, and no one said anything. And it was just, it's great. It's nice to see how much better it is on that, because the SC has always had a huge fantasy element to it.
Right. And I also think to add on to what you're saying is the DEI, that has been doing an amazing job right now, and stuff's getting taken care of that me and you have never even heard of or thought of, and we're like, wow, we used to say that, or we used to do that, and not know that it wasn't right. And so it's amazing. It's awesome. I'm just so freaking happy to be part of this.
I'm too. And you know what? And it seems to me, I hang out with a lot of young people for an old dude, and it seems to me like they're paying attention to the fact that we're doing that.
Yeah, and I also think that those young people are also the ones that are standing up saying, no, we're not going to do that, or standing up and let's face it, some of the old guard, the people that we know, aren't too happy with that. To have a kid say, no, I'm not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And I just sit in the background going, woo, yeah, and say, there's a spot right here in my camp that's safe for you if you need it, and unfortunately, you, like me, have had those disenfranchised people, those people that were spurned or whatever, and we've scooped them up and kept them in. And that's why we're flourishing, I think. It's because we're taking the time to communicate with those people who are out there that just don't know where to go or what to do, or they're jaded and they're just almost ready to quit. And they just want somebody to listen, somebody to herd. So with that, I part of the show that we do we have sponsors. Woo! We have sponsors, if you can believe it. So we're doing a shout out for all of our sponsors, and we're going to do a cut to a commercial. I know one of the sponsors is somebody that one of the things that you've contributed to, the Garb the World thing.
Garb the World is my wife's best friend company. It was started in 1999, I think, as they would get together and hang out and drink wine and occasionally sew something. So they had this stockpile of pants, and they figured they should put them on eBay back then. And they have been an official sponsor of Blackrune Free Company since the start. They even have a little plaque, thank you to our sponsor, with us all liking a little league pose. And they're great people. It's good garb, American made by people we know at a working rate. And check them out.
That's fantastic. Commercial. Awesome. That is so awesome.
Cool.
And then we have just a couple more. That's just for the show, the Fringy show, and we'll throw those up right here. Commercial. So now that we're garbed, we got coffee, we're smelling good, we can find somewhere to make a T-shirt for this whole happening. I think we're set.
Well, good to see Goblin's Grotto up there. Ulfblood does great stuff. He made the Blackrune 30th anniversary T-shirts.
Yeah. We order all of our stuff from him because he's fantastic. The Blackfire Alchemy is my sister-in-law, who is fantastic with soap. Her soaps are ridiculous. I mean, I really can't tell you. They are amazing. You know, I don't use anything else. I mean, it's just amazing. And smelling on my wife is like, yeah. And then Captain Murphy Coffee is a local Rivenoak, Barony of Rivenoak guy, and he does his own coffee, brings in his own stuff, roasts it himself, packages it, does everything himself, and fantastic coffee. So you guys got to get some. It's fantastic.
I know Cal was looking forward to it.
Cal got some last weekend, but he got a special blend because he's Cal. So the next section is something I call the meaty section. This is the hardcore stuff, the meat, the stuff we got to really get our teeth into, and it's basically where we ask the hard questions, and we do the plain hard answers. So the first question is, what was the worst thing that has ever happened to you in the game?
Not so much to me personally, but just, and again, this goes back to how, sometimes you choose to embrace being the bad guy. But I mean, there'd be times in like the 80s and stuff where, friends of mine, my wife even actually at one point, where they're helping doing some volunteer thing, and people are, oh, it's nice to have you here. Yeah, who are you camped with? What house you with? And they'd reply Blackrune, and they'd be all, oh. And stuff like that. And, it is what it is, and we are what we make ourselves. But stuff like that sucks because it feeds into the vicious cycle that we also feed into. And I'm glad we outlived the vast majority of our enemies. I think we're pretty much cool with Caid these days. So I guess that's one thing about starting at 17, is you get to stick around for a long time.
Well, you've had some pretty, back in the day, you've had some pretty bad stuff happen.
There's been some messed up, stuff. Not so much ever to me personally, but mostly just like people not getting recognized for stuff. Maybe like when you're into your third or your fourth year of doing trash or whatever volunteer thing you do. I'm certain the horsemen can totally associate on this too. You sometimes feel a little taken for granted, or like it's assumed you're going to do things.
The main reason I'm asking, seriously, the main reason I'm asking is I'm not trying to, dump a bunch of just crap onto everybody who's watching. I'm actually wanting people who don't. There's people out there who don't even know what a fringy is. They don't know that there's disenfranchised and jaded people in our game. They just don't know, which is fantastic because that means they haven't had to deal with it, which is amazing. But it's also to let them know that this stuff really does happen, and I'm not trying to stir up a shitstorm or do anything like that.
So like back in the 80s sometime, there was a barony that a bunch of us lived in, and the baron suddenly left his newly, they stepped up maybe 6 months before, suddenly left his wife for a younger woman, and we may have kind of spent 3 years helping out and helping run stuff with the understanding that they would maybe support or consider someone we wanted for it at the time, and that didn't so much happen. But a lot of those things, it's like I also only know one side of it sometimes, and maybe decades later I'll find out something else that may go, well, I guess I was wrong on that. So stuff like that would be frustrating. Sometimes feeling like no matter how much you're efforting, you're never gonna quite get there. There was times it sucked having this stigma. I didn't care that much about it, and you'll get this, bro, because I think kind of the essence of being fringe is at some point you care more about internal things than you do about the society as large. And recognition, acceptance, support, those things come from within. And if it comes from without, that's awesome, but you don't necessarily expect it.
Very, very true. Because just like me, becoming chivalry had no idea. That it was unexpected. I had no idea. But there are other people out there who are even like you and other people that I know who are better at what I do and who are better people than I am, who are still not even recognized for anything. They're not even recognized for, with even for a fighting award or anything. You're extremely fortunate because you have a ton of awards. Now you didn't say all of them. You said some of them, but you have a ton of awards. And
I was also in for 19 years and had actually I guess it was 25 years and had 2 awards though. So this has kind of been a flood of I don't really qualify as fringe anymore. I'm kind of I'm eminently qualified to speak on it, and I'm kind of the interface. But I kind of, when I came back, I said, I'm done being fringe. We're going to play at a slightly deeper level.
Right. And which me and you talked about this years ago. We talked about if we can't allow our people to not contribute. Right. If you're going to complain, then you need to go do their job.
Exactly.
And then guess what? The complaints that they have doing the job were the same complaints that person had doing the job. And then they start learning, oh my gosh, this sucks. There's people that go to events that never do anything. They don't do anything but go there, fight, drink, party, go home.
Go walk constable and deal with your own drunk ass for a change and see how it is.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that I noticed too is that you're an extremely positive person. Because, I mean, in this venue that we have right now, you could have told any story you wanted to that was truly horrible, but you didn't. And we know some, but neither one of us are talking about them.
You know what? That doesn't help anything. And, because things really have improved, at least in Caid.
Right.
Going back to a point you made earlier about how there's people who've been in 30 freaking years who don't have an AOA. A lot of that is because the people who only go to wars, like a lot of our people, and even though they may, do half dozen volunteer shifts when they're at war, they pretty much only go to wars, and they're not going to waste 3 hours going to court. So that's part of why they don't get awards. Last Great Western War, I was more gobsmacked than I ever had been. Caid, King, Queen, and Herald pulled up in a freaking golf cart in front of Blackrune camp, walked out and did a freaking pop-up royal court so they could recognize a couple of my people they'd been trying to get. And we had to damn near hogtie one to get her there, but they did. There was a freaking Caid royal court in front of the Blackrune flag and the ancestor altar. I mean, it was just like, so I mean, I really think things have gotten a lot better. We can all still be as fringe as we choose to be, and that it's all how you choose to play it. But things really have gotten a lot better, and I think it's because people realize the SCA is not big enough to have a fringe anymore. We're barely big enough to have an SCA.
Yeah, and the fringe see, all my people are fringe. I'm fringe, but the way that I look at this is the fringe is the fun, and the SCA is the work. So if you have to contribute locally. You have to contribute to your shires, to your baronies, to your kingdoms, in the work, in getting stuff done. Yeah. I am the drop dead exchequer for the barony of Rivenoak. I'm the principality marshal for the principality of Sinagua. I'm the West Kingdom thrown weapons marshal. I have the only martial tag I need left is equestrian. I have everything else. And that's something that I want all of my people to do. And they do, because we have a rule in Black Company. If you go to an event, you have to serve at least 3 hours of time every event. And that's the rule to camp with us. And so I think I separate those. I separate the work for the SCA and the fringe in the shtick and the fun, because we don't run in the kingdom circles. We don't run in those circles. We don't do that. We have our own thing. We do our own thing. It's very rare we even go to court, because honestly,
unless they give us a hint that there's a reason to be there.
Yeah, and honestly, because like we're working. We're at gate. We're at constable. We're pulling bales off the warfields. We're out there. We're working during court. We're doing other things, or we're so tired from working, we're hanging out in our camps and drinking and talking. And
it's like, well, I can't really play cribbage in the middle of court.
Right. Well,
I could.
Yeah, we could.
It's on.
So what is one of the best things that's happened to you in the SCA?
Really the best thing is seeing that my warband will probably go on when I am dead and gone. And that at some point I'll be sitting there as a picture on the ancestor altar and people will be reading my name from the list and drinking to me. Because it's my family. Blackrune is my family. And I've got, good Lord, I think 7 adopted SCA kids now. And, I think I asked 1. And just the fact that, we had in Blackrune 30th anniversary that kind of blew up and became a whole bunch of drama. And the next morning, all of the young people in our camp, I mean, at this point, our camp was super broke. Like we would have ramen night in camp, and if there was, budget left, there'd be hot dogs in it. We had like 2 and 3 kids splitting a slot on meal plan and stuff. And so, I would always make sure that there was, stuff to feed them, over in our place. But, so after all this freaking chaos, the kids pulled us together and they presented us with a gift basket and thanked us for giving them a home. And I cried like a freaking baby, brother. I wept and bawled and rent my garments. Just like, oh my God, we give you chaos and you give us a basket. So I just, and seeing them, buy into stuff like not only, accepting that, we read a war story from our annals one night at war, but new generation writing war stories, new people's perspectives on it that just get slotted in there with everything else. And just, I never really thought I would care for being called Papa Cass, but I have come to love it.
Oh man, that's so awesome. Yeah,
I just got lucky, man.
Well, it's not luck. It's the type of person you are. Because me and you became bros the first minute we met. Because we have like beliefs and like stuff, and at the time we had the same monkeys on our backs. Yeah. And I had a chip on my shoulder.
I did too for 25 years, man. And I find it's more fun without it.
Yeah, and it's the chip was counterproductive. It was causing more problems than it was solving problems, and it took me a long time to find that, to figure that out. And it took that.
Let stuff go.
Yeah, it took that one person to tell me, hey, you need to knock that stuff off. Knock that shit off. Do your, have fun. Stop that. And so we all kind of need to be that person. Everyone, to say, hey, maybe we should, get you guys together and talk it out and find out what was really happening. Find out what the real thing was.
Yeah. Get to the root of the issue.
Yeah. And so you said something that, that about, that was the best thing for you. What's the best thing you've ever seen happen to somebody else? I know I'm just dumping these on you. Bang, bang, bang.
I'm checking my notes. You didn't mention that one, man. Honestly, I think my lieutenant and my sergeant, Bjorn and Anarin, seeing them grow into leaders in their own right and start a freaking awesome camp with its own traditions and its own flavor, and just seeing the people I'm lucky enough and blessed enough to get to interact with blossom, and seeing the SCA and Blackrune being a fertile ground for that. Everyone's wonderful and awesome to my autistic son when I bring him around, and just people check in on us. It's like, we're not that freaking old, but it's. I really think it's been seeing, because a lot of my camp came from kind of messed up family situations. Like, I think a lot of people in the SCA, I think we're all a little bit broken. That's why we joined the SCA. And just seeing the family they made for themselves and the way they support each other and the way they rise up to care for each other. I think that's the coolest thing I've seen happen to someone else, is seeing as a whole and specifically a couple of people just rise up.
Yeah, and it was a proud uncle moment when they came in and wanted to hire Black Company. Came into the camp and asked if they could hire Black Company, and I was like,
I know we can't afford you, bro. But, they're great.
That's fantastic, man. And talking about other people and see, it is something to seeing the people that you brought in surpass you.
Yeah.
And it's just, and to do it so easily, so young, because we're trying to pave the way so they don't have those things that we had to jump over. You know?
The way I like to think of it, brother, is we took the shit we did so they don't have to.
Yeah. And now we can, like we were talking before, be ambassadors for the SBA, because everybody's an ambassador. Everybody out there, you're the first person people meet at their first event. You're their first memory. You know, and whether that's good or bad is up to you. You know, and like you said, you know, with the people that are in your group that are they're surpassing you. There's a bunch of mine that are just way beyond me. You know?
There's people whose armor is nicer than me. There's people who fight better. Yeah.
They talk better than me, you know, or know when to shut up, which is even better. You know, not something I've learned. But the talking about, you know, things that happen with other people, and you know, and good things and bad things, and we're doing something in the show now. It's called Shoutouts, where we're going to do a shout out to people, and a shout out is just someone who you just want to say something about live on a show. And so if you got any shout outs, you know, go for it, man. Anybody you want to talk about?
Well, first off, people will beat me to death if I don't thank my wonderful, awesome wife, Sonia St. Pauli Blackrune, who I went to and said, "Hey, can we start a war band?" And she said, "Okay." And you know, she's sewn shitloads of tabards and favors and cooks, and I could not do any of what I do without her. And likewise, Master Blackrune, my pelican. You know, this is the guy who was my legal guardian at my first war when I was 17. And I literally rode from Temple City in California to Goodyear, Arizona, in the back of a truck on top of a pile of armor with a blue tarp tied over me, going tap, 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 for 8 hours or something, both ways, because I was the youngest. The third one is my knight, Kir Yaroslav the Persistent, who is the people's knight and an amazing man.
He's one of my favorite people. I absolutely adore that man. So another thing that we're doing is we're doing a thing called a shout out, but it's also we're going to be throwing people under the renown bus. And these are people who we think are just awesome, and who people need to know them. They need to get to know them. They need to know that these people are allies. They're supporters. They're safe havens, and they work their asses off. And so you have two, right?
I do. These are two of the guys from Seven Swords. I love the graphic. Two of the guys from Seven Swords, which is one of the camps that provides people to fight with Blackrune. This is Jorge de Pizarro and Simon Maxwell. If you've ever been at Great Western War, you've seen these two dudes out walking constable duty with their dog, with Simon's dog Pepper, wearing her little constable jerkin on a leash. And they're awesome dudes and totally deserve recognition.
Awesome. And the guy standing next to me, who you've met before, is Lord Bodvar Inuxi, also known as Ox. He is my best friend. He's been my best friend for going on 10 years. He is an amazing person. He's put countless numbers of people in armor. Anywhere you need him, you ask him, he's there. He drove 8 hours one time just to take somebody to a war, 8 hours both ways, just to bring them to a war. You know, he spent an entire summer ferrying me from work every day, to and from work, because I didn't have a vehicle to go to work. And so he took me to work and brought me home every day for like 6 months. And in the SCA, he is a treasure. He is an amazing freaking guy.
Yeah, quality dude.
But I just love that guy, and I'm just glad that we can do this, that we can show these people and so people will see them and say, "Oh, hey, you were the guy that was on that."
You were that guy being awesome on that show that
Yeah,
they referred
to. So, is there anybody else other that we haven't covered that maybe you'd wanted to talk about? Anybody else that you'd want to bring up? Somebody maybe you want me to bring on the show.
Gulliver would be a great one, and he's a little bit more willing to bury skeletons than I am. Always has been. And Simon and Jorge de Pizarro, they're awesome dudes who are terribly underappreciated. Their Camp Seven Swords is amazing. The ambience of it, it's all period, it's all nautical. They throw the most amazing feasts. I'd like to send some love out to some of the camps that give fires to Blackrune, the Wayward Mercenary, Bioys of Blackrune, Seven Swords, El Grotto. So it's the one. No, Deterra's their own beast, but they've been friends, for 38 years.
Yeah.
So
awesome, man.
And thank you for the opportunity, my friend.
Well, you like I said, you were the first person that I thought of, and mainly because of the joy and the love and the honor that you do your house, and that in the entire time that I've known you, I have not heard anything bad. The entire time I've known you, I have not heard anything bad about you personally from anybody.
I can tell you who to talk to.
Well, I'm not talking to your wife yet, so I'm going to wait because I don't want to ruin everything. But also, I just really wanted people to know you and to know that you'll be at Great Western War, and you'll be at these Caid events at Potrero and stuff, and they need to come see you, and they need to come to Blackrune and say hi, and to be treated like family, because your camp, just like mine, is like a warm blanket. You walk in, you snuggle in, you get taken care of, and then you don't leave. Because who wants to?
That is all the people that. Thank you. That is all thanks to the people that make up my camp. My job is to freaking stand by the gate and vouch for people who don't have IDs. Yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing with me with Black Company. I'm a member of Black Company. I'm an elder of one of the tribes of 6 tribes, but I'm a member of Black Company. They are the ones that got me where I am now.
Yeah.
And and all of them are to blame.
I stand on the shoulders of the captains before me. I hear you, brother.
Yeah, and but we never get a chance to say it to all of them, in one time, because it's so hard to get everybody there, And so I want to say that to your family, to your wonderful wife, and I love your son, and to your family and to all Blackrune. I just wanted to say, thank you so much, brother, for honoring me, for coming, and I'm just really, really happy that I can introduce you to, everybody who's watching.
and brother, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be your first guest. I'm happy to do everything I can to bring people from the fringe into the mainstream and show people in the mainstream just how freaking awesome the fringe is. I love Black Company. I respect the hell out of you guys. I always worry when I see you across the field from me. And much love and respect for you and what yours do, my friend.
Thank you so much for coming, bro. You have a fantastic night. And I'm going to go on with a little bit more of my show. And if you want to hang out, you hang out. And would love to talk to you some more. And cheers, brother.
Ewa.
Hoorah. So this part of my show, it's like I said, my show's a work in progress. This is going to be called kind of the being real segment of my show. And this section is kind of to bring true events into perspective of a new person or a fringy, from the perspective of a new person, and showing some of the not so great things that have happened in our game and caused us to lose good people, or caused some people to become jaded in their play, which is very unfortunate. This isn't a bitch fest. This isn't something to point fingers at other people. This isn't to start shit or start crap or drama. This is not a protestation of the powers that be or pointing fingers or any of that. This is to let people know what's happened in our society and to see what we can do to prevent it, from happening again. This will hopefully give these people some closure also for something that was traumatic for them, and to have everyone comment on what they think should have been done, or even to just say, hey, you're loved and thank you for saying what you're saying, and we're here for you. And if there's something that you want to share, or you contact the show or myself, and we'll tell your story. If you can send me a message or get a hold of us through the different social medias, and I would be happy to tell your story. And all the subject matter is going to be anonymous and factually verified. So with that, I am going to read a letter. Dear Lash, my first time attending a local fighter practice in my area, I went with my wife. She had no interest in fighting, but graciously joined us to learn the basics. Our training was led by a local knight. Problems with our training arrived shortly when the knight ignored our previous mundane martial combat experience and insisted on teaching us as if we were completely new to fighting, not just armored combat. It wasn't the content, but the snide way it was delivered that rankled me. After a time, I was growing annoyed by being taught as if I was a child. The knight was giving more attention to my wife, who expressed disinterest in fighting several times, over myself, who was in there to join the society. The next practice, I was left to my own devices to learn after being only taught how to throw an onside shot. The only further SCA guidance we were given was being told a specific region and period we had to use for our persona to match the knight's own persona and household in order to play. I was fortunate enough to meet another experienced fighter who assisted me in getting ready for heavy combat and how the SCA really works. Or I might have quit before I even started. It was only after I set up and had been fighting for a while that the local knight started to take interest in me. But it was too little, too late for that relationship. So that's really unfortunate and pretty obvious to everyone what needs to be done in that situation. But practices are about bringing in new people. It's not necessarily about actually practicing. I mean, you can do that in certain sections of the practice in certain areas. Just seriously practice, but there's people watching. You want to bring them in. You want to include them. You want to talk to them, and those that are really seriously wanting to do what we're doing, they need a little more attention than the other people who might even be promising fighters. Now this person obviously says that they know martial combat outside of the SCA, which gives them a good foundation and one that you could learn and listen to and find out what it is that they have done, and then build on that instead of automatically dismissing it. And I also I want to say too is that just listening to this as I just read it out loud again, it to me sounds like maybe that person was also having a bad day. Maybe the knight was having a bad day. Maybe there was a bunch of other stuff going on. Maybe they were teaching too much or had too much on their plate, and that isn't an excuse, because as a peer, as chivalry, and as trainers and teachers, we really can't do that. We have to be more aware of what we're saying and doing and how we're acting. And for this person, luckily somebody was able to save this guy and let him know that there was other things going on. But maybe everyone who's there at a practice can do this. Everyone who's, the beginning fighters, the mid-level fighters, the people who are on the verge of chivalry, maybe they can do something or step in and say, hey, he's really stressed out right now because he's got so many people he's trying to teach, and I'll help you. And you just reach out. And I think that's what a lot of us need to do, is we need to reach out and to everyone. I walk the perimeters of the camps and events that we go to and look for people who are new or have the little, what we call prairie pimple tents, and we go and talk to them and find out, how are they liking the event? What do they like to do? Become the ambassador, because we're all ambassadors. We should be. And I know I say that a lot, but I think it's important. I think I'm going to continue to say that we need more ambassadors. And one of the other things that we could do is possibly reevaluate ourselves. Everybody, even if there's somebody who you think is not doing something quite as good as they should, approach them and be compassionate and be nice. Rule number one, and go to them and really talk to them. Maybe you'll find out there's something really bad going on in their personal life, and they just need someone to reach out. So maybe we should. So that's the end of that section of my show. It's called Being Real, and we're going to get a lot more of those in if you guys really like the show, and I will be happy to read those and to give you my opinion. I'm not some huge authority on the SCA or any of that. I just know what I feel, and I can impart on, and comment on what I think we should do and what I feel. It's not the view of everyone else in the game we play or in the rules of our game, but it is what I feel is compassion. So the next segment that I have is called Ask Lash. And this is where my trusty tech sidekick, who is also doing this for the first time, Justinian of Rivenoak, is going to surprise me with questions, and I'm going to have to answer them off the cuff. So I'm really afraid because, Justinian's a friend of mine, and I don't know how hard I'm going to get thrown under the bus in a bad way. I actually, okay, hit me with it. Okay. How do you find non-kingdom centric groups? Okay. So I'm assuming that you're in a local area and the people in the area are all the groups are on what we call the kingdom path, and are doing doing things like that, like in doing the fealty things, and they're mainly wanting to play in the mainstream, and you're not technically wanting to play in the mainstream. And so the best thing that I always say is volunteer on your local level. Volunteer in your local level, and then wait a year while you're volunteering and you're doing all these things, and wait a year and just look around. You'll find them, you'll see them, and go to events, and talk to the people that are doing the work. Talk to the people that volunteer in the kitchens, volunteer constable, volunteer in these other parts. I'm not saying the people that do those positions are not kingdom, because 90% of them are, but there's also us, the fringies, who also do that. And if you're not really wanting to run in those circles, that's absolutely fine. And then after a year, you may find out that, wow, your local group ain't so bad, and the kingdom centric things aren't so bad. But if you still feel that way, you'll find them, you'll see them. And then there's also Facebook. You can ask on Facebook if on your different kingdom websites, or even you could even send me a message, and I would be more than happy to point you in your area to maybe some people that I know that you might like to talk to. And Is that good? Okay, hit me with the next one. What is behind the us versus them mentality? Ego, hurt feelings, people remembering bad things that happened to them, because a person will remember one bad thing before they remember one good thing. Me, I had a lot of horrible stuff happen to me when I first came into this game, and for the first 10 years, 15 years, and well, actually, even after that, up into even up into the early 2000s, I've seen a lot of bad stuff happen, and it came directly from people who had what we call perceived power of what we call hats and belts in the mercenary circles, hats and belts. And I've seen some pretty bad stuff, had bad stuff done to me, had bad stuff done to my tribe. And that's what causes that mentality, that because there always seems to be two groups everywhere I've been in, everything I've done, everywhere I've gone, there always seems to be two groups that always are at each other. And no matter what it is, whether it's other LARPing groups or other sports groups or any of that, there's always two people or two sides. Sorry, excuse me. So I think that's where that us versus them comes from, is somebody getting hurt or somebody having a bad day and hurting somebody's feeling, and that person carrying that forever, and then bringing it up all the time because they're still hurt and they don't have any way of alleviating that hurt other than projecting it onto somebody else. And this goes on both sides of the court, fringy or kingdom. This goes on both sides. So the way to stop that is to immediately address times when you get your feelings hurt or you get hurt or somebody does something really shitty. You address it right then and there. You don't wait. Find an advocate if you don't feel you can do it. Find me. Find somebody that you are comfortable talking with who's been in for a while, and we will help you do this so we can eliminate this us versus them, because our game is slowly dying. So we need to freshen it up. We need to hold people accountable for their actions and make it better for everybody. So hit me with the next one. What's it like walking the path without being kingdom affiliated? Boy, I never walked the path. I'm assuming you're talking the path of chivalry or the path of peerdom or path of kingdom. I never walked that path. I've always tooted my own horn. That sounded bad. I only played my own fiddle. I only did my own thing. Like our group bot company, we just did our own thing, and we just had a great time. We have fun. We fight. We work, and we have a good time. And if there's somebody who wants to go the route of becoming chivalry but not doing the fealty thing, like I'm a master of arms, then that's a long, arduous uphill path. If you're going after it directly, my suggestion, and I've told this to many people, my suggestion is to surround yourself with good people who are knowledgeable in what you want to do. If you want to be a pelican, if you want to be a laurel, if you want to be a master defense or a knight or other things, you need to surround yourself with those people who have the knowledge of what it is that you want to do. And don't be afraid to step out of the box, do things out of the box. If you don't want to be a squire, I was never a squire. If you don't want to be a squire, don't be a squire. But there is something to say about squire and their peer protege and their peer relationships that that are pretty amazing and pretty cool. So I mean, so there's a give and take there. Your path will be longer if you really want that path. If you really want to do and become a master like I did, your path's going to be long. It's going to be arduous. It's going to be hard work, but it's not impossible. And you could even squire to somebody and still become a master. You could even do something that way. But we're talking about walking the path without being kingdom affiliated. If you're a squire to a knight, then you would be kingdom affiliated, depending on the kingdom you're from. So walking the path, that's a hard phrase, because I don't think it was a path for me, because I was doing what I thought was right. And that's just what I feel. And that's not what other people feel. I was just doing what I thought was right, and what in my honor, in my heart, and what I believe we should all do. And I was recognized for it. So it's really hard for me to comment on walking the path, because I wasn't walking it. I may have been and just didn't know it. So if you don't want to be kingdom affiliated, if you want to be in the fringy circles and you want to do it that way, it can be done. But talk to those who are successful at it, and talk to them and get permission, or not permission, get help from them. So that was we're only doing 3 questions, because man, that was rough. So the last part is something I wanted to kind of do, because I really, growing up, I really liked people like Paul Harvey and Mickey Rooney, and then later in life it was Mike Rowe and Anthony Bourdain. These guys that are just amazing people, and they give us insight into our lives, and to how to look at things and how to do things. And I just want to read something quickly from Mike Rowe that I think is really relevant right now in what we're doing in our game. And so bear with me. So Mike Rowe once said, "Every lasting structure needs a good foundation. The thing about foundations is that they are invisible to the naked eye. You see the glory of the building's colors and shine of metal, the loftiness and station of the person in the penthouse or CEO's office. You forget about the blood, the sweat, and the tears that went into the creation of that building for that CEO to sit in their elite position. When you erode the foundation due to mistreatment and neglect, that structure falls. Maintain your structure, care for your bricks, and your building will last forever." This is Lash of Black Company, sending out my love and affection to everyone in our game and those who aren't, to my family, to Black Company, and to my extended family. And just to say, be the brick. Just be the brick. So I just want to say thank you, everyone. So I want to say thank you to Kal-bardr, and to Leo, to Justinian, my wife, for putting up with all this. And I just wanted to say, join us next month. I'm going to do this again. And if you really like it, I'll do more than one a month if you guys would like. But next month is June 22nd on a Tuesday, when we had the Leopard of the Outlands, Lady Vincetta of Greyhold, a fireball 10 foot tall in a 5 foot body. I cannot wait. And see you next time. Same Lash time, same Lash channel.